Hello everyone, this is Luke, and welcome to the Getting Started tutorial for the Promethean Directive Season 2. I've done a lot of work on the spreadsheets to improve them since Season 1, and now y'all get to see all that. To start off with, this is what you'll see when you first open up the spreadsheet. You'll have your nation's name up here instead of this, and other than that, it'll pretty much be this exactly. So to get you started off, you'll want to look through your tabs, and I'll tell you what each of them does and how you can make use of that. So starting off here on the Turns tab, this is the spreadsheet's memory. Anywhere that something from a previous turn has been saved, it'll show up here. All the information from turn 1 is right here, from turn 2, and so on, like that. You've got a summary of your current turn, free money, research, and materials right there, and then some information about your population. And then down here is a list of the nations, their government, your relationship with them, are you allied or friendly, that kind of thing, the number of spies you have in each country, and then a huge section on trade. And then over here you've also got a large section on intelligence assessments. This will look better than just a bunch of div zeros by the time everyone's running and it's all hooked up. The only things that you need to edit on this sheet are the comments on all of these tiles, like right here, if you are spending extra money. So if you are doing something like reassigning a spy, you'll need to put 1 billion here as a payment. Other things you'll be directed to, or I'll let you know that you should add a comment and a note here for extra costs. Most things get calculated automatically, but if it isn't calculated automatically, it goes here. And then these two cells as well, your urbanization goal and your ration level, also need to be updated. But generally, if you just want to ignore these, your nation's going to operate just fine. It's just if you want to min-max your nation's growth rate or population distribution. And then down here, anytime you want to hire an agent or give them orders, you put those in here. And then anytime you want to pay someone a material, you put it in the row corresponding to their nation. If I want to send Mr. Placeholder 1,000 materials, I put it here. It'll show up on his sheet. And these are automatically updating with a short delay. You can see that if I send 1,000 materials to myself, it'll probably show up here before I leave this page, right there. So much work went into that. It's cool though, it's helpful. So that's pretty much it for the Turns tab. Again, you don't need to go here often, it's just got a summary of kind of what's going on, and then these things to fine tune, plus all of your relations with other countries happen here. The Civilian tab is kind of the bread and butter of managing your nation, at least for civilian things. To start off with, you need to put your nation's name. I'll go with the Avum Empire, just because we're making this up for me. A font, if you want to use it. If you don't, you just leave it as Arial or Times, and it'll just get used for anything that is labeled from your nation on the maps. You also need to enter your nation's color, which is just an RGB value. So that might just be 0, 255, 180. And this will just get loaded in and again be used to color your nation's land and your nation's fleet moves. Also, importantly, you need to select your start. So that's what these 3 columns right here are for. If you're a developing nation, you start off with a decent population but lower tech, urbanization, productivity, things like that. But you have a high population growth. Again, it's just different for all of these. They've all got pros and cons. But generally, if you want to have a sci-fi looking nation, you want to be advanced, and you should be in that part of the map as well. If you want just a fairly standard nation, you go for developed. And if you're fine being the underdog in technology but beating through with sheer military force, or just being like a low technology like World War I kind of nation, or World War II, then developing is what you want. The Avum Empire is pretty much cannons only, a little bit of missiles, so we're definitely developing. And once you've filled in these 3 boxes and checked your box, then you are completely done entering stuff in this section here. This is, besides those things, just display. You've got a summary of a bunch of important economics values here, but other than that, that's all you really need. Also notice how if you select multiple, it'll get black and red. This is my way of telling you that you've messed up and what you've done is illegal. If you see things like that, just know that that's what it means. I try to include those whenever I can, but they're not always going to be like that. So be aware. If you think you're doing something wrong, you can always ask. Next up is the mines. This is how you collect resources like fuel, natural, titanium, uranium, and nickel. You'll go to the map, which is like this. Anytime you see a mine icon in your territory that you want to mine, it'll have a number associated with it. And let's say you have a natural mine that says number 25. You can enter 25 here, and it will automatically figure out how much output that should have. In this case, I haven't updated 25. But if we look at mine number 1, for instance, you get 82 output out of it. Most will be around 100, but there will be better and worse mines, so keep that in mind. That's it for the Mines tab. Down here is your cities. This is kind of the bread and butter of what you'll be doing with your currency. So you put your city's name, then you need to figure out where you want to place it. If you go to the map, you can click anywhere, and you'll be able to paste the coordinates. Right now they're not split, but I'll make sure that they get automatically split by the time the thing is actually running. You can enter those coordinates, you can make it a capital, and then now you've got to build districts. There are 2 kinds of military districts and 3 kinds of civilian ones, plus special facilities. Military districts are in support of your fleets. These ones build ships, so if you want to build 100,000 worth of a ship in 1 turn in 1 city, you need 1 build cap. Now, logistics cap, meanwhile, affects the upkeep of your fleets. So if you want to station a fleet in a base, you want to have as much logistics cap as you have cost of fleets. So if your fleet is 100k, you need 1 logistics cap. If it's 200k, you need 2, and so on. And then the civilian districts, finance gives you money gain, research gives you tech gain, and industry gives you material gain. Each of these have super linear costs, where if you buy more of them, they get more expensive. So if I go ahead and put 50 in here, you'll see that these 50 added on, just to make it more clear, start to add 100 costs, which is how much capital costs. You add 50. Now those have added 280 in cost. If we double it, you can see that that added a whole lot more. It's now 620 would have been, 340? So the first 50 cost 280, the next 50 cost 340. So it goes up the more districts you build. Capitals have the cheapest districts outright. They cost half as much, whereas yards and bases have more expensive districts. But if you want to know what the stats are for those, you can look here and see the base cost and the scaling. All of these little notes here mean that there's a lot of information. Everything here has some description telling you what it does and answering questions you probably have. Some of them are really long descriptions, some of them are really short ones. But if you're unsure about something, usually click on all of the little notes nearby. If you're on mobile, I think you can tap it, and then you've got to scroll through the menu to find notes on the very end. But that's how it works. So you build your districts. Let's say we want to have this. We want to put 20 of them in a yard at Tallinn. Again, I can go to the map and get a coordinate. Boop. Boom. And now I've got another city. It's a yard. I'll give it some of this. So all of this gets automatically added up in cost and subtracted from your free currency. You can see that if I remove these 20, I get more money back. So currency is money, is what you use to buy districts. It's what you use to pay for stuff. Materials are always just FTD materials. Meanwhile, you've also got special facilities. Right now, the main 3 are enrichment plant, semiconductor, fabricator, and reactor. Those are kind of covered both here and in the tech tree, so I won't talk too long on them. But essentially, they're just special things that you can use to get nuclear weapons, semiconductor resources, and extra output on districts and cities. Moving over, now we have this section here is just a summary of modifiers that your nation has. Basic stats like your stability effect, population growth, as well as more niche things like vehicle upkeep, ration sensitivity, and so on. And again, if there's a complicated one, it probably has an explanation for it, like this here. But these are all affected by your government, your tech, and other things like that. So you need to select 1 check from each of these sections. So there'll be 3 checks in total up here. And then as many of these as you can afford before you run out of traits and or points. and then you need to build a full government of people and select traits for them. So I'm going to build this out for me. The Avim Empire probably believes in, I want to say they're a steel kind of way they win wars. They build powerful airships and defeat their enemies through military brute force. A nuclear policy, I haven't honestly thought far enough to see what we would use, but I think we would just be a nascent nuclear power just using fission bombs if we got there. We are monarchist. Now, if you want to have like a constitutional monarchy, things like that, then you can kind of split these and let me know and I'll make sure that it works for you. But generally you just select one, each with their own perks, and you can see they automatically update things over here. But if you ever want to have like a corporate democracy, let me know and I can probably have these effects for you and let you have both. But that'll be a manual thing. Next up is your government. Here, let me leave us at monarchist. You select a title. In this case, we're going to have Emperor is the title of the head of state. His name is going to be Nicholas Thunderbridge. Now that's a nice regal name to it. And now you select what trait you want. Each of these, again, has effects, and they are automatically calculated. Some of them are good, some of them are not good. I recommend you go for something that you can both roleplay with, but also feel confident as being helping with your nation. With all of these, what matches your roleplay is most important. So if you want the benefits of corporate, but you're not a corporate government, don't do corporate. You should do democracy or whatever you actually are, because ultimately these are a reflection of your role-playing and what it can give you in terms of quantitative benefits. So please actually follow what your nation's about. Don't just try to min-max these. If you really want the stability boost, then maybe you can modify your democratic government to be oligarchic instead. But make sure that, again, your roleplay reflects that. So Nicholas Thunderbridge, he's not a populist, definitely not a businessman. He'd either be a statesman or a retired officer. I haven't thought that much about him. I think retired officer fits well. And then for a second trait, let's scroll on over. There are a bunch of these. These don't have any quantitative effects. They're all mostly just funny things that you might get punished for when we're looking to do roleplay interactions with your nation. But they are interesting and usually funny things, I think. And generally negative, just because people love to make their characters just best and incredible in every way. But I think, honestly, this guy's probably xenophobic. The Avim Empire are not great guys. For diplomacy, like, I'll fill all these out. Note that they do need to be named for you to get an effect. If I have John, the Saber Rattler, I get minus 50% war debuffs. If he is nameless, I get no effect. If his name is 0, I get no effect. I think if his name is empty string, okay, empty string works. But what about equals empty string? Also works, okay. I assume null works too. I don't think this recognizes null. Yeah. As long as your characters aren't named 0, you get the effects, but they need to have a name. Down here, you've also got names for your military commanders. These are more optional, because they don't give you any main effect. But if you want to put them here, so we'd have, like, General Grievous. Nope, just Space General. And you can rename this to Army if you want. I just left that open. These you can rename. But we have Space General Grievous. And then he also gets traits over here. So you fill all these out, you'll get a bunch of modifiers. And then down for your special traits, or basic and special traits. These are extra modifiers that affect your whole nation. And you can look through and see which ones you want. Ideally, they fit with your roleplay. But these are also things that are not as tangible, usually, as a government type. So you can look through these and see which ones you think fit the style you want to play with. If you aren't planning on doing much war, then anti-war is an easy way to get 2 more points to spend. The special traits over here are similar to these in functionality, but they always have more modifiers. So all these just give you 1 effect. Liberal, you get extra research output, yay. But these over here will typically set your playstyle. Harbingers of the Revolution. You can put spies in enemy nations to reduce their stability. and use that to try and spawn civil wars in them. But you get a big decrease in your own like economic output. That is a play style if you want to play like Trotskyist Russia, like in Hearts of Iron 4. That's the way you do it. Paradox of Plenty. You get a ton of resources, but your finance districts are worthless. So all of that stuff works together to give you an interesting and unique nation. And that is kind of it for the civilian tab. Moving over to technology. Yes. Here is where you select the text that you want. You always have to have all the ones left of it before you can use the ones to the right. But this is where you set up your nation's text. Some of them are text that unlock things in From the Depths. All of the bolded ones are. Others of these are things that just give you effects in-game, such as the ones with an asterisk. So red asterisks give you extra finance output. Blue gives you extra research output. This pinkish purple gives you finance output. Oh, these are slightly different finance outputs. Things like that. So you can select what you want here. It'll always be summed up at the bottom. And if you want to do this, so if you know that you don't want to use the laser tree, you can lock it, or you can soft lock it and make everything here cost 4 times as much. And in return, you can use that to make another tree cost half as much. If you know you want nukes, don't want lasers, do this, and now all these things cost half as much, so basically no loss. So it's a way for you to get more out of your tech points. So you can decide which ones that you want. For Avum Empire, I don't really care about nuclear tech, but I know I don't want either of these, so I'll make these 4 times expensive. And then I'm going to want cheaper thermodynamics and cheaper computing. Because I'm a basic start, I want extra productivity, which I can get from robotics here. So I'm going to jump forward to that. And then I kind of like the fuel use and industry output I can get from these. I want to get industry and extraction because I needed to use uranium. And now that's pretty much all my points spent. For the top 2, you can discount these as well, but you have to make the other one more expensive. And there's a nice note to explain that for you. But for me, I just want these at 1. There's a big summary table over here. Again, you don't need to enter any information whatsoever in this. It just gives you information about what is legal, what resources and tech are required, things like that, and then what the vehicle types are and what benefits and drawbacks they have. Over here is your stuff about resources and what they do, and that is it for the tech tab. Moving now to military, we're actually first going to start out with the BP catalog. So the blueprint catalog is where you put your vehicles. Now how you get this is you go to the Discord and you run this command. The name might change, but you upload your blueprint. I'm going to enter Monarch, my flagship. The vehicle type is an airship. It is not a carrier. It is not a drone builder. It's not nuclear powered, and it's not factory made. I enter this, and then within 10 seconds, I have all the information to describe this ship. I can just paste that right here. And now I can go to the military tab and I can select HMLS Monarch. And instantly all of this information gets loaded in. Now I've got everything that I need to build this thing. I just need to set the quantity to 1. And now all of these resources get added up and subtracted from my resource stockpile. Actually, I don't have enough titanium to make this. Minor issue. You can see that it's been made, or it will be made. You can't edit the health bar, but once I see that you've requested this, every time I go through it, every turn, I'll increase the health by whatever you're able to build it by. So this thing costs 940,000. If I'm building it in a regional KTOC, which has 10 build capacity, then 10 times 100 is 1,000, which is more than this, so it can get built in 1 turn. If it's less than that, it takes 2 turns, and so on. So I'll update it. Well, I will, you won't. Once it gets there, and you'll see it has health. You'll want to name it. You've got Captain John. This is for your fleet level here, so this could be the first expeditionary, and it is a heavy air fleet, and it's led by Admiral Monson. Range will work as well. It isn't right now though. But yeah, that's how this works. You can see that the fleet is now up here. When you want to move it, you will, or just have it do anything, you set, this is an optional column here, to let you know where it's at. So I'm just going to call it regional catalogue. Again, totally for your use. This does not affect anything. It's just for you to keep track of your own fleets. It is currently trying to search for combat. And then the coordinates, again, I'll grab from this. I'll put it right there. You only ever enter in the end coordinates or the middle if you're moving it. Again, a note describes how these work. Every turn, I'll copy the end over to the now for you. This is a checkbox that we'll see if it gets implemented or not, but lets your fleet make a optimal route avoiding terrain, provided you have the range to get there. But other than that, all this is just display information, except for being able to choose to repair or not, as applicable. You can also just message me and I'll take care of that usually. Otherwise, this tells you how much repairs your ship needs if it's at 55%. You can see it'll cost you 422 to repair it, and you must do it in a yard. But that's the military tab for now. If you want to know how much strategic resources stuff costs, they're listed down here. I may get a more permanent box for this at some point, or a list on the rule stock, but for now that's where it's at. You are capped at 20 fleets and 6 unique vehicles per fleet, but you can put 2 of the same ship if you want. Nukes are mentioned down here. These are ones that you shouldn't edit, but you will note if you're deploying nukes with a fleet, you'll put that here. Nukes are a far away thing though, so don't worry about it if you're just starting out. That should be pretty good for now. Again, just display information down here. You don't need to enter anything. So to summarize, turns gives you a lot of information. If you're spending money on extra special things, they go in these rows here. The only things you can change on this tab above here, other than the notes, are this. If you're hiring spies, setting a relationship with allies, and so on, you put this stuff here. You have a maximum of 4 allies, by the way, without taking penalties. If you want to send resources, you use these. And if you want to spy on your other nations, you look at these. Let's go over here, actually. You need to have, right now, if you don't have any intel, then you have no idea at all what anyone else has. If you have more intel, your idea gets better. But for comparison, I can see that I think the Avum Empire, who I am, has a military 3 times what it actually is, has -9 military districts, and half as many civilian districts as I do. So you can see how inaccurate this can be. But if you get spies in this country, or things like that, then you get more and more competent at understanding what their military is like, or just if you upgrade your intel and counter-intel. And if you don't have any counter-intel, then people will know very easily what's going on in your country. So you really want to have some of both of these. Back to the summary. On the civilian tab, once you do this and these 3 boxes, you're done entering stuff up here. Here's where you put your mines. Here's cities. Special facilities in cities. You get only 1 per city, so if you want 1 enrichment plant, you can put that there. The number represents the level of a plant, so 4 is a breeder reactor, and things like that. Make sure that you fill out your government with all of these roles, and the main and secondary traits. Although if you're a government type that does not get to decide your own government officials, you can put names and titles, but I'll take care of the traits for you, and I'll try to make it funny. Other than that, yeah, select as many of these as you want, as long as you don't run out of points and or traits. So right now I can get away with mass production, liberal, and endemic corruption. that should be all. Thank you very much for your patience and for being a part of this project. I look forward to us getting started very soon. Bye.